Welcome to Behind the Mask in Conversation with. Behind the Mask is a neurodivergent focused podcast that aims to offer support, knowledge, understanding, and most importantly, exposure to the neurodivergent community. If you are here, firstly, I hope you enjoy the episode. And lastly, if you are enjoying it, please like, follow, share, and subscribe because your support with this podcast can really help us push the message out. Keep being amazing all, and thank you.
Hello.
Hello. I was like, why is this not
Alright.
working? I need to press something.
You're on. Boom. You're in.
Woohoo! Hey, Paul,
Alright.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
How's your Saturday been?
All right. What have I done? Been out shopping, been spending money and spending more money. Standard
My
behaviour.
favourite topic. Did you
Yes.
consciously spend money?
Well, this is it. I've spent money, and what I'm hoping is by the time we finish this podcast, I'm going to find ways to make it back very quickly, or at least
You
save.
will. Yes. Let's do it.
I've got the coupons at the ready. Let's go.
Amazing.
Now I feel like I should be on Maddy's side. Every side's fine. Any side.
Yeah, we're not
and
doing a
every side.
battle. We're not doing a battle, but Lindsay, I love you. I hate those battles. They confuse the living daylights out of me. So, like, yeah, not here for a battle. We're here for a decent conversation. It's going to be fun.
We are. So, for anyone that's just coming in, this is episode 2 of Behind the Mask. So, Behind the Mask in Conversation with is a podcast which is broadcast live here on TikTok. And it is a conversation between people within the neurodivergent space. So I'm Paul, I'm the host. I have ADHD and in the process of autism assessment. So yeah, I'm pretty riddled. And yeah, this is our guest for today. This is, yeah, I'm absolutely riddled. Like I need a vaccine, I think. But yeah, this is Maddy, Mad About Money Official on TikTok. And she's our guest for today. So Maddy, over for you. Tell us about Maddy.
Oh, it's so nice to be here. Thank you. And I love the term riddled. And I think at some point they will bring out a vaccine and no one will take it because we love our neurodivergent.
I'll be like, you're not taking my riddledness away from me.
No, I am so in love with all of my conditions.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing. You grow to love them. And I think through our conversation, we'll see how actually you've really embraced them. And I mean, you've got the Panini sticker book almost, haven't you? You've literally been collecting the tokens. You've got the stickers in the book and you're like a gold star neurodivergent.
I am. I'm almost full up. So I have pretty much every single neurodivergent condition going, bar Tourette's. I just swear a lot, and common misconception: people with Tourette's actually don't swear as much as some people with Tourette's don't swear at all. So
just like, potty mouthed people.
But I do swear a lot. So there might be the odd F-bomb here. I apologise in advance.
It's all good.
It is all good. So yeah, I have all of the neurodivergent conditions, bar Tourette's, plus a few like extra little in sort of fun ones. So I've also got an autoimmune disease. I'm perimenopausal. I'm a mum, which I think is almost like a neurodivergent condition in itself. I think
it needs a guide, doesn't it?
Needs a book but the thing is, like with neurodivergence, like the book, like unless it was like laid out in the right correct format, I wouldn't read it. I got diagnosed 2 years ago for the first time. I'm one of those people who likes to be very, very thorough with diagnosis. So I got my first diagnosis through a private company 2 years ago. And my little story goes, I had no idea I was neurodivergent at all. In fact, I've always just been the weird person. So looking at my yearbook from school, what are you known for? Being weird. That is genuinely what I put in my yearbook.
Quirky didn't exist back then, did it? We were just weird.
No, I've always been the weird, over talkative, oversharer, quirky little habits that other people think are like really strange. Always the person fidgeting, always the person who's just like not making eye contact, away with the fairies, like, you know, all of these little terms that you get, like daydreamer, all of these little things. That was me. And I never, ever, ever thought that I was anything other than completely and utterly broken. And throughout my entire life, I felt like I was different, like I didn't fit in. I got really badly bullied at school. I had lots and lots of things that happened throughout my life where I just thought, I'm a complete and utter fuck up, basically. And then 5
It's
years
weird.
ago.
You mentioned the word broken there, and it just stabs out, doesn't it? It sticks
Yeah.
there, and I feel that, and I understand that totally.
It's a weird one. So I basically came across ADHD through my child. So I think my ADHD definitely presented itself in a more strong way, not just after I had kids, but also after the pandemic. Like not being around other people to kind of help me to mask. I think, you know, when you're around other people, and especially when you work in business and, you know, you have your own little quirks, but you kind of hide them because you're around people. Like I found that as soon as I wasn't around people and I completely took the mask off, I was like, oh, I'm just so weird. Like, and I became almost a bit agoraphobic after the pandemic
Like
because
you didn't want to put yourself forward in a place where
no,
you I think many people felt that with the pandemic. They stopped having to do the things that society forces us to do, and the construct and the way in which life is built force us to do. And you kind of sit with yourself for that period of time, and you start to go, "Oh, who's this? What's this?" Because you just really sit into yourself a lot more, don't you?
exactly. And my husband was one of those lovely, wonderful key workers. So I had 2 children under the age of 5 at home on my own with no adult conversation. And I just thought, I mean, first of all, that's where I fell in love with TikTok. So I am a bit thankful for the pandemic in some
Were
ways.
you?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
Here
And there
for
is
it.
still
Preach.
video evidence of that. My backup account, Maddy Alexander Grout, if you scroll back far enough, you will see my and also my blinding lights where I almost blinded myself by knocking myself out with my boobs.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, follow, subscribe, find the video. Find the video.
Yeah, that's literally like, it is very much my backup account in case TikTok decides to get to like cancel culture me at some point, which they may well do because I am quite out there sometimes. But it was basically like after the pandemic, my son had started school, and his teacher called me in and she said, Mrs. Alexander Grout, I think that Ben has got ADHD. And I said, no, he doesn't. He's not a naughty little boy. And she said, it's not just for naughty little boys, and he's not naughty. He's just very distracted in class. He's doing handstands in maths when he should be like concentrating, and he's constantly fidgeting. He's very, very out of control with his emotions and like all of the signs. So I went and did my research. I used TikTok as my like go-to place to go and like find all the information, as you do. And I fell down the TikTok rabbit hole that was ADHD, and I didn't come out of it ever. And now I'm fully embedded, but I'm here for the ride.
Absolutely. And with that, so the teachers identifying the behaviours, I suppose, at that point in your son, was there any conversation or indication to give you direction towards what it may be, being neurodivergent or ADHD or anything along those lines?
Well, it was just the eye opener for me, because the more I did research on what ADHD was, the more I just had like a tick box, and I was like, tick, 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 tick. All of those things are me. And then I started to talk to my friends about it. I spoke to my mum about it, and my mum was like, no way, you don't have ADHD, not a chance. So I said, okay, where are my school reports? And my mum gave me my school reports, and I read them, and I was like, holy fuck. Okay, right. So here we go. Maddy daydreams. Maddy spends all of her time looking out of the window. Maddy would do better if she applied herself. Blah, 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 blah. Like all of the typical things. My favourite one was Maddy is physically inept at PE. I mean, that's more my dyspraxia, I think. Like I used to, with hurdles, I used to like run at them and just flop on them. Like, I was bad, really bad at sport.
Just
No
straight
cord.
through them.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
with
and
that, so
it
you
was,
meant
yeah.
you
People
mentioned
would
dyspraxia,
laugh.
just
Yes, so
just
dyspraxia
running
is,
through things. Talk us through dyspraxia then, for those that don't know.
yeah. So I've got a nickname in my group of friends, Spilly Maddy. And that's basically because people take bets of how long I can be at a party before I spill something, drop something, break something, fall into somebody, walk into somebody. I have zero spatial awareness. I trip over my own feet. Caitlin's saying she's the same. Yeah, trips over her own feet. I'm already seeing signs in my daughter. She is like literally the most accident prone person in the world. She trips over air. I mean, very similar to me. I've never had,
When you walk and you think, who's
yeah,
tripped me over? And like, nobody.
me, just me. Also,
Yeah.
as well, as a child, I used to stand, like, you know how people stand with their feet like this? I used to stand with my feet like this. I used to play the flute, and my flute teacher used to say to me, "Why do you stand in such a weird position?" But it felt comfortable to me. It was much more comfortable than standing with my feet like this. So I'd stand like this. And she just thought I was weird. I thought I was weird, but it turns out I wasn't. I just, I'm actually quite normal for who I am. So it was good. But yeah, I am constantly, as soothing Eva, yeah, 100%, constantly covered in bruises that I have no idea where they've come from. Like literally, one I had that was like this big on my leg. I mean, I could have been run over and I probably wouldn't have noticed.
And I
But
think it's that, oh yeah, we bruise like peaches, but maybe we don't bruise like peaches. We're just constantly banging ourselves. Because I'm
yeah, but we
clumsy.
get used to
I
it.
don't think I have that. I've never been diagnosed with the condition, but I am the biggest klutz ever, and I'll walk past things, knuckle the wall by accident, graze my knuckles down a brick wall. I'm just like, what? Why am I doing
My
this to
best
myself?
Yeah, my best one that I have is literally any time I wear a cardigan, I get the pockets caught on the front door and I like smack myself. I do this every time. It's like the door is in the same place. I know that the cardigans have pockets and I do it all the time. But it is literally like I have no spatial awareness whatsoever. It took me, I don't know my left from my right. It took me 3 attempts to pass my driving test because I would turn the wrong direction and they were like, "Oh, for God's sake, why are you going the wrong direction?" I did an emergency accelerate instead of an emergency stop, so that would have been definitely somebody killed. Like all of the
Was
things that
this on your driving test?
yeah, on my first driving
Fantastic.
test I emergency accelerated. So all of these
Oh,
things
Christ.
though, they're just comedy, like, it's a comedy of errors basically. My whole life has been spent with like all of these little fuck ups that have just kind of added on and added on, and it just led to me having really low self-esteem in my early adulthood, and I just felt like I was completely broken for all of it. Like I was just like I was really stupid. And I'm also dyslexic, I'm dyspraxic, so I have never been able to spell. I can't, like, I can read, I can skim read, like I read the gist of stuff, but like I have to reread it several times before I actually get what it's all about, and that's tough. Writing, so I've got dysgraphia as well. Like my hand hurts after writing for about 5 minutes. People don't really realize that that's a neurodivergent condition as well.
I didn't know
I
about that. You mentioned this to me when we was on the call. So what is
Yeah,
that then? So you
yeah,
mentioned
so
that you can only physically write for so long, and then it's a physical pain that you get.
I actually can't write at all now. It's been so long since I've actually picked up a pen and written that my hand like seizes up and it cramps. And this is often a really, really common side effect of people who are hypermobile as well. And hypermobility often comes with ADHD. So all of these things were just kind of building up in my head to make me think that I was so bad at like living that I didn't want to live. I was, at several points in my life, I have really contemplated not being here. And that's really tough, really, really tough. I've had lots of ups and downs in my career, in my parenting life. And it's only really recently that I've started to actually really embrace all of my conditions and know that, yes, locked trigger fingers, it is linked to thyroid as well. So also I have Hashimoto's disease, which is really crappy autoimmune disease, which makes you tired all the time. So I mean, I really am a bunch of like,
but there really is so many that are comorbid as well. And I think the more
Well,
in which you go into that kind of rabbit hole looking at neurodivergency, and you kind
yes,
of go down the lane of seeing other conditions, and you think, oh my, like I recognize that, and there's this whole culture at the minute around self-diagnosing and things like that. But actually, I think we're in an age where the resource we have available to us enables us to start understanding things that could be happening to us or are part of us. And it is like so many things sit under the neurodivergent umbrella without being one of the key 5 or 6 things that are identified.
absolutely. And so just it's probably a good idea if I fill you guys in a little bit on my backstory, because
Paint the picture for us, Maddy.
it's very long, so like I'll try and do it as potted as I possibly can. And
This
you
is
don't want to hear
this is
too
your
much.
podcast. Go for it.
Oh, no, wait, I mean, like, I still want people to buy my book at the end of the day, so I'm like, I can't tell you all of it, guys, but you'll want to read the ins and outs, because it's an interesting story. So I have had problems with spending my entire life. I've also had problems with food my entire life. So when I was 5 years old, my mum was like, there's a problem with Maddy. Although she's really good, she is very hyperactive, and we can't really get her to calm down. She's on the go all the time. She just moves. She will not stop. She doesn't sit down and relax. And we're just like, whoa, she's just a bit too fast for us. So they took me to the
Penny's
doctor.
just dropped with Ems there. Ems has just gone, oh my God, you're me.
Yeah. So my mum took me to the doctors, and the doctors said she's got an artificial colouring allergy. E100 to E155, sodium benzoate, carotene, and there was another one as well. Can't remember what it was. Anyway,
Wow.
my mum was like,
Sorry,
yeah,
I was told that the one that's in certain cordials and squashes, I was
yeah.
told don't let him have them because, oh my gosh.
We're going back to the days where
Sorry,
like we
yeah.
literally couldn't drink anything other than fucking Robinson's barley water, which tasted like shit. Like it was really grim. But my mum was like, but she's never had any like sweets or sugar or processed foods. Like, we lived in a village, like in the middle of nowhere, next door to a farm. Like, the nearest McDonald's was like 30 miles away. So like, I'd never been exposed to food like that. So my mum really did try and dig her heels in, and she was like, it's not that. It can't be that. And the doctors were like, just don't let her have any sugar. So the very, very little sugar that I had was taken away from me. So I spent my entire childhood years not having any sugar or any processed foods. When I got to secondary school, they were like, have some bubble gum, have some sweets, and I got addicted to sugar like exactly in about like 3 minutes. So I developed a really bad relationship with money from school. I used to save up my dinner money so that I could go to school after, like, go to school, and after school I'd go to the village shop, and I would go and I would buy sweets and I'd buy chocolate, and I'd go and I would binge it before my mum got home from work.
So this was all kind of undercover, your little secret type
Undercover,
thing.
completely. I mean, it was an eating disorder. I wasn't, I wasn't puking it up or anything. I was just eating it, but I was binging, proper binging. I would like buy I'd have £2 a day for dinner money, and I'd go and spend it on sweets and eat the whole thing. So I started to get really overweight during secondary school. Luckily, I had quite a fast metabolism at that point because I was still young, like it didn't really start taking effect until I got to
the ability to kind of burn it off or process it better.
Because I was so fast at everything. Apart from cross-country running, I was terrible at that.
Yeah, all running into hurdles.
Yes, running into hurdles.
Maybe you were too fast, straight knocking yourself over there.
Possibly. But it was, I developed this really, really bad problem with food, and we would still eat really, really healthy home cooked meals, but my mum didn't know that I was like at home gorging on like chocolates and sweets before she came home, and I'd hide all the evidence. I would put the wrappers in my school bag, I'd drop them off at the bin on the way to the bus stop, I was literally hiding my entire existence.
And do you think now, obviously we'll go down the line and just look into your diagnosis of ADHD, but looking at that very moment there with the knowledge you have now, like it just screams kind of seeking that
Dopamine.
sugar rush, that
Mm.
dopamine, that self-soothing, and using food in a way to make you feel
Yeah.
kind of that sense of grounding and comfort.
Yeah, and it never stopped, but it just kind of escalated, and I started to swap sugar for spending money on things like clothes and makeup, and like it was the thing that when you were like in the 90s, like as a girl, you would just go to town. Every Saturday, it was like, what are you doing at the weekend? We're going to town, and we wouldn't have any reason to go to town other than just to go and hang out and spend money. So I never held on to a penny. I always worked from a really young age. I got my first job as a chambermaid when I was 14, changing beds. Um, there will be more about that in my book, but some of the things I saw, horrible. Really nasty job.
A way to get money to then keep chasing that kind of rush you get from shopping or buying things. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like that self-fulfilling thing, like, oh, if I get more money, I can feel this way more because I've made that connection.
Exactly. And I also spent money to kind of fit in. I didn't actually need the clothes or the makeup. Like, in fact, I didn't even like wearing makeup. You can tell now I don't like wearing makeup. I don't do it. I feel like that's the thing that's kept my skin looking lovely. But it was one of those things
It's
where
not drinking, it's not keeping hydrated, is it? Like,
I try my hardest. This is all the liquid I've drunk today. That's just
snap. Yeah,
just
drink
we're on
water,
that
guys.
level.
Drink water.
Everybody remember to drink, especially if you're on ADHD medication, like because otherwise your mouth turns into the Sahara Desert. My bladder has never known itself more than it does now. But just kind of moving on to like my uni years. So I didn't really get taught about money as a kid. And when I went to university and I had my own money for the first time, most of it was student loan. I hadn't really saved anything to go off to university. And I fell out with my housemates in the first term, and because I was an oversharer and I told somebody a secret that I shouldn't tell somebody, and then everyone was like, we hate Maddy. So I was out on my own. Like, halls is supposed to be that thing that kind of transitions you into university, but I had probably about 3 months in halls, and then everybody hated me, so I moved. Then I felt like I was even more broken, and why couldn't I make friends? Why couldn't I keep anybody? And I just went to town every single day and I shopped, and then I went out drinking, and then I went out and I partied, and then I'd wake up and I'd feel shit about myself, so I'd go into town, I'd spend money, then I'd come home and I'd feel guilty about spending money because I knew I couldn't afford to do it. And I
Yeah.
did that for about 4 years, and I ended up getting into £40,000 worth of debt. And
And
this,
this 40,000 has a lot of significance to the change in your life. That when we spoke about it,
yeah,
this £40,000 and the debt that you'd accrued over time really actually helped shape who you are and where you are now, didn't you?
well, it did. And, I'm always the sort of person that I regret things that I haven't done rather than the things that I have done. So every single last bit of my journey has kind of come to where I am now. So when you asked me to introduce myself, I kind of just went straight into it, and I didn't really say
No.
who I am or what I do. But it has relevance. So I spent the last 10 years building a personal brand as a money specialist. When I found out I had ADHD, I learned everything I could possibly learn about neurodivergence. I went and got a neurodiversity qualification so that I could support people in the workplace, so that I could support my clients. And at that point, I decided that I was going to launch an app for neurodivergents to help them with their money. So that's what I did a year ago. Mad About Money's been in existence now since May the 4th last year. We are coming up to our first birthday. It's very exciting. And I realised that, my entire money story made sense because of my neurodivergent conditions. I wasn't broken. I wasn't bad with money. I just needed to know how to manage it in a way that suited my brain.
And if we pull it back, thinking again back to our conversation, so you your skill set and expertise leading prior to pandemic was sitting within marketing and
Yeah.
branding and that field. You had a
Yeah.
successful business that was going well. It was heading the way in which you wanted to go, and COVID hit, and
Yeah.
your business stopped overnight.
Yeah, exactly. So I spent, like, when I got chucked out of uni, because yes, I did get chucked out of uni because I hyper focused on the radio station rather than the course I was meant to be doing, as you do. It was only like 4 years in when they were like, Maddie, you don't go here anymore. You need to actually leave. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to go get a job. This is really shit. So I went and worked in a call centre for British Gas and realised that I was really good at training people. So I knew that whatever I did, I needed to be in a position where I was helping people to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked there for like 2 years until my debt problem got so bad that I had bailiffs knocking at the door. And then I moved back to Southampton and found a job in recruitment, which is the worst job ever for anybody who's got ADHD. But also
Oh,
the best
I
job.
disagree. Yeah,
It's,
best and
yeah,
right. I absolutely love it, but like I love sales, promoting, marketing. I can't stand resourcing candidates.
absolutely. So all of the bits that I really, really, really hated about recruitment were the things that I felt really bad asking the administrator to do for me, because she hated me because I was different and quirky and not her cup of tea. She really, really didn't like me. I had so many different problems in the office just because of the people that I worked with. I was really bloody good at recruitment. I was the top biller on the South Coast. I did it for like nearly 12 years. And then when I had children, I went to work in a more kind of HR focused role, and they basically gave me this mishmash of things, but it was amazing and it was so suitable for my ADHD. It was like change management, marketing, social media, training, e-learning, helping people with onboarding and like employee benefits, and like it was so varied and so
Hmm.
me, and I loved it. And I'm
And little
almost,
short, sharp bursts of wins
yeah,
as well
I
with
was
the
doing
job.
so many different things that my brain was constantly occupied. And the best thing about it was I think that my manager knew I had ADHD because she got me a work coach. You don't just get people work coaches
Yeah.
randomly, do you? She got me a work coach, and that changed my life. Oh my God. Literally changed my life. So
And you mentioned there about that someone noticing ADHD. I think it'd be good to go to that point. We're in that kind of transition. It was a couple of years ago when you noticed, but your route into finding out about your ADHD, it was similar to many people that I say similar. I think a lot of people now are finding themselves through their children. And when I spoke
yeah.
with you, it was that kind of children putting the mirror back and making you go, aha. So are you happy to share that with people of how that came about for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so after my son's teacher said Ben's got ADHD, and I went away to kind of do some research on it, I found that I was identifying with every single last thing I read on the internet, like everything. So I went to talk to the NHS. They told me that it was going to be a 3-year waiting list. I thought, fuck that for a game of soldiers. So I went and got a private diagnosis. My private diagnosis was with a company who later was in the media about 3 weeks after I got my diagnosis. And I went, I don't think I've got it anymore, because these people were like giving out diagnoses like sweets, apparently. So I suddenly went, I don't think I've got it. I don't think I've got it. So for about 6 months, I kind of thought, no, I'm going to switch that off and just focus on my life. And then everything was just so bad that I kind of went back to it and thought, maybe I do, but actually maybe I do need an NHS diagnosis, because the people who I'd got mine with originally went bust. So I went to the NHS and I watched a TikTok video about right to choose. And I know that you talk about this a lot on your page, which is
It's
amazing.
literally one of my hyper
Yeah,
focus special subjects. Like I love it. I love the idea that although it's difficult, there's ways and means you can really push forward to get what rightfully you should have. You shouldn't have to jump through hoops, but
Exactly.
currently there are hoops for us to jump through collectively, and I think
Yeah.
it's a great thing for so many people.
So I went to the doctors and I said to them, I think I've got ADHD. And they said, well, you told us this before and we weren't really sure. And you said you'd go away and talk to some other people about it. And I said, yeah, well, I am sure now. I've definitely got it. These are the reasons why. And they said, okay, it's a 3-year waiting list. And I said, no, I want you to refer me through Psychiatry UK Right to Choose. And they said, what's that? And I was like, so I had to educate the doctors on what to do next. And they said, oh, we'll do some research on it. We'll phone you back. So they phoned me back and they said, okay, right, we know what Right to Choose is now. We're going to refer you. And then about 3 weeks later, I was like, have you referred me? I don't even know whether they've referred me or not. So they said, yes, we have. It's going to be, probably about 6 weeks before you hear anything. I mean, that was very, very anticipated. I was like, 6 weeks? That sounds great. No, it wasn't 6 weeks.
Sign me up.
It was more like 8 months, but actually, they emailed me. They emailed me to say you've got access to the portal, and I missed it because I don't do emails. I am so shit at reading my emails. It was only when I got a letter through, and I'm such a stickler for opening post, and that comes from years and years and years of burying my head in the sand and hiding
those final warnings, those bills hitting and just going, no, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Hiding my bills under the doormat, that I thought, right, I need, I open every single post. I even open the circulars and the really rubbish things that come, I read everything just in case. Because also I'm so bad at missing parking fines. So I have to open them so I know whether or not I have to pay some money to somebody.
Someone's just mentioned about what is Psychiatry UK. Now, Psychiatry UK is a company that works independently, but also in conjunction with the NHS for treatment of things like ASD. I'll say treatment, diagnosis, and for ADHD medical treatments, they can work with titration. So for anybody that was wondering, have a look at Psychiatry UK. They are one of the partners for the NHS.
Yeah, they are. And actually, my journey with them has been really, really good. So I opened this letter that they sent me, which said, we're assuming that you do not want to carry on with your ADHD diagnosis. And I was like, fuck, what? So I phoned the number and I said, I'm really sorry, I missed the email. And they said, right, can you do an appointment next week? And I was like, wow, this is finally happening. I'm actually going to get a proper diagnosis. And I'm not saying that anyone who's got a private diagnosis isn't proper, by the way. It's just that the one that I had felt not great.
Yeah.
You get that kind of just that gut feeling that it was just dodgy, and they were a dodgy company. So I just didn't feel like it. I needed that
you needed
validation.
The second ballot. I had similar, like the first one I had, it was okay, but it wasn't as thorough as Psychiatry UK. And my first one was private, and then I had to go through Right to Choose and Psychiatry UK to enable me to look at titration.
Yep, same. So I got the appointment. I went and she said it should be about 45 minutes, an hour and 45 minutes. I was still on the phone to her, and she said to me afterwards, she said, Maddy, I've never seen anybody present their ADHD symptoms as ADHD-ly as you. And I was like, is that a compliment, or is she just saying that I'm really fucking ADHD? And then she said, also, I don't want to alarm you, but I think you've got autism as well. And I was like, no, I don't. No. And I turned into this like stubborn little petulant child, and I was like, I do not have autism. No. And I got really stroppy with her. And then I went away and thought about it, and I thought, oh, maybe I should research that as well. So I did a bit of research. And weirdly, when I started my titration and my ADHD was lifted somewhat, I was like, oh, hello autism, there you are.
And I think this is something for anyone who is has ADHD and looking at medication, that they do warn you that if you do have autism, it may bring forward the symptoms and signs that the ADHD can sometimes
Mask, yeah.
overcompensate and mask. Yeah,
And
mask. I went all
that's
posh
been
like you then. Mask.
mask. But that's, and I'm not posh, I'm just from the south, you know. Like I'm
Yeah,
actually fairly common from the south. But it was just a really eye-opening thing. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And it was just, I've always had sensory difficulties with pretty much everything. And it was just stuff like, I put my favorite jumper on, my favorite jumper that is normally comfortable and normally like the most snuggly thing that I ever wear. And I was like, this is so fucking itchy. Why am I so itchy? I can't stand it. And I was like, get this off of me. And then like people were bumping into me and I was getting really cross. I was like, don't touch. My husband would like try and hug me when I wasn't. I'd get
You
off
said
me.
that. You said it. My husband questioned if I was having an affair, and that really tickled
Yes,
me when we were talking.
yeah, because I just didn't. I was just like, I don't want you to touch me. I don't want to be touched. Like I have to really like. And now, and that's a hard thing when it comes to sex, because you kind of have to get yourself in the zone to actually like
Yeah.
want to do it. And it doesn't help that I'm also perimenopausal and like all of that crap's going on as well. But it's weird because I then was kind of like, oh, I have to weigh up whether or not taking medication is for me, because do I really want to be more autistic than ADHD? And I have come to the
It's a
conclusion.
weird one. It's almost like I don't know about yourself, but I really found myself in this identity crisis. I was like, who actually am I? Like, if this is the
Yeah,
ADHD and this is the autism, who am I? Like, everything seems to be taken away, and actually, collectively, they're just all part of who we are, aren't they?
exactly. And I think now, like I weighed it up, and one of my biggest things with ADHD is that I can't, like I've been living with like an anxiety feeling in my stomach for as long as I can remember, since I was a teenager, since I went through that eating disorder, since I went through being bullied at school and bullied at uni and like all of those things. And I don't have that feeling anymore. And to me, just taking ADHD meds has been so interesting that that's gone. And I feel like actually for the first time in running my business, so I've been running my business, well, I've been self-employed now for 8 years. I'm actually starting to be successful and actually feel like I'm getting on with the things that I'm supposed to be doing. So it's been an absolute game changer. It's also helped me to realize that often in business, I was doing things to please other people, not for myself. And I spent nearly 6 years of running my last business, giving business advice to people for free, giving marketing advice to people for free. And I was like, actually, I'm really bloody good at this. Like, you know, I did it in
Lean into your
corporate.
strengths.
I leaned into my strengths, and now, you know, now I've actually got to a point where, you know, I'm making double figures every month, which is, you know, amazing.
Amazing.
I've just
It
had
is.
my best month of my business ever. I never really talk numbers because like a lot of my followers
Yeah.
like are in debt or they have money problems or whatever, and you know I'm there to help people with that. But really, my you know the business coaching that I do now is kind of at the forefront. So we've made some changes in Mad About Money app, and it's not just about saving money now; it's about making money, and it's about every single area that leads back to money in your life. So, you know, even if your money is perfect and you're neurodivergent, you can still come and hang out and talk about other things with us. It's not just
And
about the money.
I think with that, I think some final things. We've got probably about 20 minutes left. So if
You know
we
we're going to
look,
go over that.
yeah, it's gonna. So if we look at this company, that Mad About Money, I think shortly I'd love to speak to you about the parent side of things, because I think there's many
Yeah.
people here. So how do you want to do this? Shall we go parents and then end on your business and how people can go? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, let's talk about parenting with ADHD. I mean, it's really bloody hard, right? You know, we have to look after our own brains, but then all of a sudden there's other people in the mix that we also have to look after them and their brains as well. And it's like you go from, and I think that was one of the things that made me really realize that something wasn't quite right, and actually really made me lean into all of my neurodivergent stuff, is that my children, like having one child was okay-ish. I mean, I had the worst pregnancy. Being pregnant as a neurodivergent, I mean, all of the sensory stuff. I had
it was a
morning
lot
sickness,
for you.
16 weeks, which was horrible for somebody who's got emetophobia, like the fear of being sick. Like I just lived in constant fear that I was going to vomit. Luckily I didn't, but I just felt sick for 16 weeks, which was horrific. Foods, smells, taste, touch, everything when you're pregnant just goes like super high. And that was really difficult. I had rib flare, so being hypermobile, one of my ribs popped out. Gross. But that was one of the most painful things. And then labor, God, for somebody who feels pain a lot, Jesus Christ, I had an epidural, then I fell asleep and they were like, push. I was like, no, I'm sleeping, leave me alone.
Sleep time.
And it was difficult. But then I had no sleep in the run up to my pregnancy because of my rib, and it was really painful. So I was already really sleep deprived. When Ben came, I was very, very poorly, like really poorly. And I had very, like from day one, he screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed. Like he had 20 minutes sleep every like 3 or 4 hours. He honestly just screamed and screamed. And I thought, my child hates me. And for somebody who struggles with noise and overwhelm,
the noise and that kind of spikes in emotion as well, that little bit of rage and stuff, like being a parent, it doesn't just stop. It's just difficult. It's testing, and it's not just your own struggles. Actually, you're being tested by people that you love dearly. But it's such a weight on you to be a certain way as a parent. And
I felt tough. I felt like I didn't deserve to be a parent. And then I started to hallucinate. I had visions of me stepping out in front of a bus carrying my child. I had visions of, trigger warning here, guys. Sorry, I probably should have said that. But, I didn't want to be around, and I also didn't want my child to be around, because I genuinely thought, like, I felt like I was the worst parent in the world ever.
And it was. I imagine it wasn't that you didn't love them. It's just that actually you didn't feel that you could fulfill the role, and actually it may be better. And that ideation sometimes can sit quite prominently in neurodivergence, but actually put just having a child and all that pressure as well. No wonder you felt that way.
It was so difficult, and it was only by pure chance that I said to my mum, I'm really, really struggling. And she said, has the health visitor spoken to you? And I said, yeah, she has. She tried to give me antidepressants. That was all she did. And I said, but I said to my mum, but I'm hallucinating. I'm seeing things. I'm like actually seeing myself doing bad things to my child and doing bad things to myself. And this is just not right. I don't feel right. And actually there is a strong link to postpartum psychosis and ADHD, and people don't talk about it because it's one of those things where, like, what parent wants to admit that they don't want their child to be around? It's horrible, like absolutely horrific. So I went and got help. I was almost sectioned, but luckily I got help in time. And my psychiatrist just said, you need to be around somebody who can care for you 24/7. So I went to live with my mum for a bit. My husband was basically like, he was struggling as well because he just didn't know what to do with me. He was like, I don't know
what, and that's it. Want to be a support, but like, how do you support someone that doesn't understand how they're feeling? So let alone be able to tell you how they're feeling.
Yeah, and I was breastfeeding.
So you become a machine rather than.
Yeah, I was just food to my child, and a child that hated me because he was screaming so much. I found out later.
I hear a lot of neurodivergent people, neurodivergent mums say that actually they really struggled with that. They didn't have that kind of warm bond and that nurturous feeling when they were breastfeeding. It was like they thought they were broken. Like, why am I not feeling this bond? It just didn't happen for them.
I mean, being completely honest, like, I've never liked anybody touching my nipples. And when you've got somebody biting on one, I mean, like, obviously they don't bite at first, but it is genuinely quite horrible. And I didn't realize how much I would hate breastfeeding. I loved the feeling of looking at my baby while it was happening, but the actual sensation of it gave me the ick really bad. And I did it for like 9 months with my first, and it was really, really tough. But I went to stay with my mum. She basically took Ben away from me, and she would bring him to me when he needed feeding. But apart from that, I slept and I slept and I slept and I slept constantly for like a week. And then I started to feel better. And we found out that he had a compressed neck muscle, which was why he was constantly screaming. It wasn't just a normal baby thing. He was in pain. So he was basically because I'd fallen asleep while I was supposed to be pushing, they pulled him out with a suction cup. So in that process, he had
that damage.
Damaged. So I took him to a cranial osteopath, which was amazing. He literally saved my life. And I went and found a baby group, and a baby group that was like, I kind of walked in on the first day and I went, "Hi, I'm Maddy, and I wanted to kill myself and my child." And they were like, "Whoa." And then we sat down and I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm an oversharer. But I don't know what I'm doing." And I'm really think... like, no, I was saying that to them. I'm not apologising to you.
I was going to say, I'm strapped in and ready to go.
But I said to them, I was like, "I'm really sorry. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing with this parenting malarkey. Like, I feel like I'm broken and I'm really, really crap at this. Like, and it's horrible." So I made some friends, and they were, rather than them all hating me and thinking I was a horrible parent, they were all like, "Do you know what? We're all going through it as well. You know, we've all got things that are going on." You know, I mean, there were the people who were like, "My baby sleeps through the night," and I'm like, fuck you. Like, just go
Your
away.
Baby's the devil. Stop it, woman. Stop saying this to me.
Yeah. Hi, Simon. Sorry, it's one of my friends watching. But yeah, so I got into that point where, like, I just found it so difficult, and parenting as a whole, like, I think is really difficult. And big shout out to one of my group members, Positively Parenting. She helps people who have got ADHD kids. She helps people who have got ADHD to parent better. Amazing lady. But just on the point of having children, like, I had made the decision that having one was enough. I was like, nope, no more, because I cannot cope. And then I accidentally got pregnant again. Fuck. And then all of a sudden I ended up with, like, another child with all of the same conditions I had when I was pregnant the first time: gestational diabetes, obstetric cholestasis, which is the thing. Basically, it's a condition where your liver doesn't work properly and it makes you itch the whole time. I wanted to not be around again, even though I had a child. I was like, I don't feel like my skin fits me. I'm so itchy. I hate this.
It's all sensory, isn't it? All these things.
So sensory, all of it. And I didn't sleep very well. Luckily, I got support from day one. I got myself a doula. So for anyone who doesn't know what a doula is, essentially they are somebody who comes and pretty much lives in your house when you first have a baby, so that they can support you. And she was mega expensive, but my mum paid for her, because she was like, "We can't have Maddy having postpartum psychosis again," and it was sleep deprivation. So I needed help from, like, gallbladder slip. Yeah, it's basically a gallbladder. It's very, very similar to that.
Yeah.
But it was, having a doula literally saved my life. She was amazing, and I had her for like 3 months when Harriet was born, and that helped. But I tell you what,
I think there's something really encouraging there, and, like, credit to you for doing it. Like, so many parents don't want to admit they need help, but actually sometimes that's exactly what you need. You've just been through one of the most traumatic things of being pregnant, having a child. Sometimes help just to get through it is exactly what you need. So thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of women carry guilt, and mothers carry guilt for, like, needing that support, but actually, like, it takes a town to bring a child. It takes a town to raise a child.
It does exactly. I've just done an article actually for Net Mums. So if you're in the Net Mums forum, that's going to be coming out in the next, like, week or two. Because every time it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I always talk about my postpartum psychosis journey, and especially for neurodivergents. Like, parenting is so much harder for neurodivergent people, and I knew how to ask for help the second time round, but it was really difficult. And now I've got a 9-year-old, I've got a 5-year-old. They are happy, they're healthy kids. Both of them are neurodivergent themselves. Well, we suspect with Harriet that she might be autistic. Ben, we haven't had his diagnosis yet, but we're starting it soon, because we want to make sure he's got it before he goes to secondary school, because his primary school is so supportive, and they give him, like, really good one-on-one care, but I know that he's not going to get that when he moves up. So it's just something that we're kind of looking into and sorting. But I needed to understand my brain before I understood theirs, so I could parent better.
So to any mothers then, but before we move on to the business, what two tips would you give to any mother, neurodivergent mother, starting out as motherhood?
So understand your own brain. so that you can understand your children and understand what your triggers are, understand what overwhelms you. And don't be afraid, especially as a new mother, like, you can put your child down and walk away from them. It's not going to kill them. That was something that I felt so bad about, was, he was screaming and screaming and screaming. And I was like, I felt like I had to hold him. And that was so overwhelming for me, especially like the autistic side that I never knew I had. I didn't cope very well. Try and get a support network around you. If it's friends, if it's family, like other parents, make sure that you go and you find other parents to talk to. There should be neurodivergent parenting support for everybody. And I think one of the things, if you don't know you're neurodivergent before you have a baby, you can't tell your midwife and they can't care for you in the way that they should. So even if you've not got a diagnosis, tell your midwife that you think that you might have ADHD or autism, because they will look after you in a slightly different way.
That's really positive to know.
Yeah, I launched a parenting forum, the UK Parenting Forum. It's on Facebook. It's a free Facebook group. It's not like Family Lowdown or any of those ones where like people just talk crap. It is literally just focused on parenting. So yeah, go and have a look at it. It's free to join. It's just a support community.
Thank you for those. I think a lot of parents here will, even if they kind of haven't had exactly the same experience, I think every parent needs to hear certain things from other parents. Like, it's okay to struggle. Like, trust your gut instinct, listen to yourself, and get to know yourself. And that's a key one for any neurodivergent. I think anybody should get to know themselves, but neurodivergency and understanding the why is so important.
Exactly. And it's okay for you to admit that you don't like parenting. I love my kids. My kids are my world. I love them with every ounce of my being, but I hate parenting. Like, I hate all of the things that come with parenting. And I didn't think I would. I thought I would be like really maternal and I would love it. But actually, I am not very maternal. Like, my kids get all of the love. They're very happy. They're healthy. They are very much loved. But we also, as a family, especially as a very neurospicy family, we talk very openly about our conditions and how they affect us. So we have a term that we use, tapped out. So if mummy is tapped out, I tell the kids, they know then that if I start getting snappy or I start getting overwhelmed, they know it's not them personally. And they're like, mummy, you're tapped out, you need to not be nasty. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be nasty, I'm not a horrible parent.
They understand it's detached from them to circumstance, and that's beautiful.
Exactly.
I worked in education, and I, even though it's not parenting, with people with SEN and neurodivergent students, it was so important for them to be able to communicate feeling something with a word, even if they didn't understand what the something was. And that strategy to having a family, it's wonderful. It really is.
And they kind of get it. So like, Ben will say to me, mummy, I'm tapped out. And I'm like, I know that means he needs to like excuse himself from a situation, and he needs to take himself off. He needs to like go and watch his tablet for half an hour. Like, and do you know what? Screens, they are an absolute lifesaver for parents. And like, I really hate those like, don't spend too much time on screens, children. Like,
stimulating for them.
I mean, so earlier on, Ben spent nearly an hour on his tablet, and I know exactly what he was doing. He was practicing his times tables, bless him. Like, my children are actually quite good at being productive when they have their screen time, and actually using it to learn. But, he will take himself off. He'll go and read a book. His hyper-focus is he likes reading. And it's about identifying your child's emotions and what they're going through, as well as what you're going through, and what things overwhelm you. So I know that when I'm tapped out, I can't have the kids climbing on me. Earlier on, I was tapped out, and Ben started sucking my fingers, and I'm like, stop it! Like, oh, like, and he thought it was funny, so he kept doing it, and I was like, nope, tapped out, and he stopped as soon as I said that, because he gets it. Like, and I think having boundaries when you're parenting with ADHD is so important, because then
for your own well-being as well.
Exactly. And my husband is not neurodivergent, bless him. He has he has learned so much so that he can support us more. But earlier on, like Harriet, my daughter, he took her to the supermarket and she wanted a pizza. She wanted a pineapple pizza. So he bought her a ham and pineapple pizza. She wanted the pineapple pizza from school that she has. And the ham made it taste different and she just wouldn't eat it. And he was like, just eat it. And I was like, you don't understand how
the image in their head isn't a pineapple pizza, it's
like
that one.
It's that specific one. Yeah, exactly. So I had to explain, and he was like, okay, I get it, but her attitude sucks. And I'm like, it's not an attitude. She just genuinely is really overwhelmed because it's not what she wanted. And she's a 5-year-old, and you've just got to think about how different that is. So I sat her down and I said, Harry, like, completely understand that you don't like the pizza because it's got ham on it. Would it help if mummy picked the ham off? And she said, no, because the whole thing tastes like ham. And I was like, okay, cool. Can I make you a chicken sandwich? She was like, yes, please, mummy. So I made her a chicken sandwich. Everyone was fine. Everyone went back to being normal. But it's about learning why they're ticking and like
what battles to fight as well. What's a battle and what's just a need in that time.
Exactly. And don't do the whole like, if you don't eat your dinner you're not going to get pudding and all of those kind of things, because like that's just going to promote bad eating habits for kids as they grow up. Like, don't put pudding on a pedestal.
Those early scars or those early memories and stuff stay with us. Like, and I think managing them early and understanding can help stop that kind of carry forward.
I had food trauma when I was younger because I had and this again, it's a sensory thing, because I can eat sweet corn, weirdly. I know it's the same texture, but peas, I had a phobia of peas growing up. I got force fed them in my first primary school.
And it just stuck with you.
Point where I used to stuff them in my cheeks and go and puke them out when I was like alone. You can't go out to play until you eat all your dinner. You can't have pudding until you eat all your dinner. Like all of these things added up, and like if you Google Maddy Alexander Grout phobia of peas, you'll find my articles. Like it's quite funny. I have spoken quite a lot about it, but it was a sensory thing.
With Maddy Alexander Grout. So talk us through then, about five minutes or so. Tell us about your business and tell us how people can get involved and how it can support individuals who are neurodivergent then.
Yeah, so I am what they call a multi-potentialite. If you haven't heard of that term, it's very, very typical. If you're an ADHD and you're an entrepreneur, it probably is quite typical that you actually have either more than one business or you want to do more than one thing. And that is totally fine, by the way. It's all about growing a personal brand around being a multi-potentialite. So people know me as a few different things. They know me as Maddy the money lady. They know me as Maddy the ADHD specialist. They know me as Maddy the neurodiversity in the workplace specialist, or Maddy the visibility coach. So I do lots of different things to help people. The thing that ties it all in together is everything that I do for neurodivergence. So I make it suitable for neurodivergent brains. So I'm not a coach. I always say I'm way too bossy to be a coach. I don't sit down with people and go, and how does that make you feel? I'm very much like, I give people actionable strategies to grow and scale their business, mainly from a visibility perspective. So I run a business visibility membership, which is £7 a month, which people can join and basically get support with their content, with me sharing their posts to my audience. We do trainings, we set people little missions to help them to grow their business. And it's got about 60 people. I only launched it 3 weeks ago and it's got 60 people in it already. So I'm quite chuffed.
And that community feel and that community kind of, let's do it together. I love that, because that's the one thing for me that TikTok brings, a community feel, and kind of you all want it. I think with neurodivergence, what I've found is they are so much more willing to stand next to you and walk together. They don't want to be in front. They don't want to win. They don't want to one-upmanship.
Oh, one of my members, Anita's here. Hi, Anita.
Fabulous. They're literally like, come on, let's do it together. Let's walk. And they buzz when you succeed and you buzz when they succeed. And I love that so much.
And I'm there to be their cheerleader, to help them to I mean, not fix their mistakes, but like everybody needs to grow, right? And it's a non-judgmental place where people can come in, they can share their social posts. I tell them what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. I give them daily tips, daily lives, little missions to do. And it's just fun. Like one of my biggest mottos in business is, if it's not fun, why bother? Just don't fucking do it. Because business is hard, especially as an ADHD or someone with autism. It can be really difficult, and I wanted to build a community of people where that wasn't a problem. So I love doing that. I think I've really found my passion. Oh, thanks, Emma. So for anybody who wants to get involved, you can join my membership in my bio. So it's just that I've got a link in my bio, so you can just go and have a look there. And at the moment it's forming, because I've never run a membership before. It's a bit different for me, and I am very much like, I need to give all of the value. I want people to feel like even though £7 a month is really cheap, I want people to get that value and actually be able to grow their business.
Investment against returned.
Exactly. And this is the thing that so I have people who work with me one-to-one, and it's mainly through Access to Work. And if anybody doesn't know what Access to Work is, again, there's a video in my bio about it. It's a support for neurodivergents in the workplace to help them to be either employed or self-employed. And most of the people that I coach through Access to Work. So actually they don't pay me, the government do, which makes me feel less bad about charging so much. But when I charge people directly, I want people to feel like they're getting a lot for a little bit of money, because I want people to stay, and I want it to be a community where people
and you want it to be beneficial for them as well.
Exactly. And I am, what you see is what you get with me. I'm not one of these like big business gurus who's like, make £1 million in a year, blah, blah, blah. Like, I am still very much on my journey. So I've been self-employed for 8 years. I'm going to have probably my first 6-figure year this year, which is exciting. But it's taken me a long time to get there.
And I think so many people would cringe at that, but like, I love hearing your success. Like, absolutely love it.
But this is the thing though, right? It's taken me 8 years of being self-employed to even get anywhere near being successful. So I'm trying to help people to be successful sooner, so they realize they can do it. And it's not about following the big gurus. It's about following people who actually understand your brain and know how to support you in your business. And that makes a really big difference. So and I've got Mad About Money app as well, which is the money app that I run. So yeah, lots of things that I do, lots of fingers in all of the pies.
People come over and follow you. There's lots of content on your page, and I encourage anybody to go and have a look at Mad About Money official. So I said that I wanted to keep these to no more than 1 hour 15 minutes. So with that in mind. But also, actually, let's not throw everything out. Let people go and find out more about you.
True. I mean, and also, you don't want to learn everything about me, because I have literally just been offered a book deal, which is really exciting.
Find out about the book deal. Tune in.
Well, I'm not. To be fair, I'm still negotiating, but I have a book deal on the table, and I have got a book that is half written. ADHD, Money, and Me. It is coming soon.
Well done. And like everyone's saying here, congratulations, amazing.
Thanks,
absolutely guys. Well done. Like, that's a win for us neurodivergents, and it's amazing. And I'll be sure to buy it when it comes out. You've got to sale with me.
Oh, I'll give you a copy, Paul.
No, I want to buy it, because I feel then like I love you. I feel like I'm playing part in the bigger picture,
yes,
and also
that would be nice.
I'm really crap at receiving gifts for free. If someone says no, I won't charge, I'm like, let me pay you, because I'm going to feel guilty.
I'm the same. I know, because you want to help somebody, right? And I think that's very much an ADHD thing, because we are very much we're givers, we're empaths. We actually are there because we want to help people. And this is why I get this thing where people are like, oh my god, £7 a month for your membership, that's just ridiculous, why are you charging so little? And I'm like, because I actually genuinely want to help people to succeed and not have them break the bank doing it. So yeah, it's exciting.
So the final question.
We need to get 10,000 likes on this, by the way. I'm like seeing 9.6.
10,000. Come on, guys. Tap the hell. 400 left. So I like to ask everybody the same question at the end.
Yeah.
And it's a question you can go whichever way you're comfortable with. Like, I would never want anyone to go to a place that they're uncomfortable. But if you could give a message to your younger self, knowing what you know now and as who you are now, what would it be and why?
Okay. And yay, we hit 10,000, winning. Thanks, guys. You're
Oh,
amazing.
I just dabbed. What an absolute tit.
Boom.
Whoa, whoa.
Love that. Okay, so my advice to my younger self is that I am not a broken and unfunctional horse. I am a beautiful, neurodivergent, quirky, fascinating zebra.
Preach.
And that is the advice that I would give myself. Like, I wouldn't even necessarily tell myself that I've got ADHD, because every single thing in my life has had purpose and meaning. And you'll read that in the book. My journey has been up, down, up, down, up, down, mainly down. I mean, I have fucked
But it
up
makes
so
the
many
ups
times.
feel so
It
much
makes the
more.
up, exactly. And every single thing that's happened in my life, I'm actually quite a spiritual person. So I feel like everything in my life has happened for a reason, and I am where I need to be exactly right now. Even on
Love
this
that.
podcast, I feel like, I'm here because, like, and I'm
I
a
feel
yes
like that. I
person.
don't feel like our
No,
conversation ends here. I love everything about what you do and who
and
you
it
stand
won't.
for.
I want you to
And
come live on mine as well. Like,
yeah,
let's
let's
do it.
go.
Like,
Let's
which
go,
I think,
girl.
even outside of the podcast, I feel like we should be talking more about these
Yeah,
kind of things, because, people are
100%.
getting,
So much.
it's normalizing these conversations, and I've got so much more to talk about. Like,
Well, that's it.
I
We'll
could, I
flip
could, I
it.
could go on
I'll come
forever.
on yours and we will continue the
Yes,
conversation.
let's do it. And you're going to
Winning.
come on my podcast as well. So I've also got a podcast. I've also got hiccups. Christ, it's never good, is it? We'll keep those in. So yeah, I've got a podcast, Mad About Money. It has been likened to Secret Diary of a CEO, Diary of a CEO, whatever it's called, Diary of a CEO, but for normal people, and it's all about neurodivergence and their money stories. So it's
And
a
that is
nice.
available on all platforms as well, because I've been
It
listening to
is.
a couple of episodes
What do you
and
think?
I like it.
Wow.
Do you know, I love a good car listen. That's not too kind of learning intense, but it's just that casual learn and
Yeah,
understand, like
and
that
that's what it is. That's what
smooth
it is. It's
introduction to learning things, and I loved it.
yeah, amazing. Oh, really, be free. Feel free to ask a question here if you want to.
Yeah,
I'm more
go
than happy
for it.
to answer some questions.
So
Like,
we've got 5 minutes. Let's
5
throw
minutes for
some
questions.
questions out.
Do it. Ask me
So
anything.
Wheelie has said it's got so many questions. So let's give Wheelie a question now.
She's going to listen to my.
This
I'm
is where
saying
we
she.
go.
It might be a he. But Wheelie, if that's your business, I'm going to say this right now, and you can go and watch a video on this on my page. We're going to go check my content out. Take your logo off your TikTok and change it to your personal face. Like, people buy into people, they don't buy from brands unless they're big brands. So, like, get your face on there.
Personal branding is key. I've just changed all mine up.
On that note, actually, as well, it's probably quite prevalent to mention that I run free TikTok workshops twice a month to help people to grow and scale their content. So if anybody wants more information about that, also in my bio.
That'd be great. I'm going to tune. I'm coming to the next one.
Yay! Amazing.
Let's do it. So questions.
You don't need any help with your content, though. I'm not going to lie. You're smashing
I know,
it.
but
So.
I love scalability.
But actually, the tips that I give, like, no matter how many followers you've got, like, it will help you. This is your personal profile. You've got a business one, okay, but still change it to okay. I mean, if that's your personal profile, and I mean, I'm seeing that it looks like a logo to me. Show me your face. I want to see faces.
Show me the face.
Love a good face.
So the questions then come. So top 3 things then to end. Top 3 things someone can do to scale their personal brand or their TikTok profiles. So top 3 things. Let's end on information and a tease into your next workshop.
Okay. So top 3 things that you can do. Actually start using words that relate to your niche. talk about your niche. Stop going off on tangents and talking about your dog or what you had for dinner. Like, talk about your niche and weave your personal stuff into your stories. That's what they're there for. Personal stuff for your stories. Oh, bless you. Okay, well, keep it if it's in honor of your friend who passed away, for sure. Keep that. So also, you need to be consistent, whatever consistency means to you, but that doesn't mean like show up once a year on your TikTok. Even if you post photos, like I know people who have gone mega viral just posting photos. It doesn't have to be video if you're not confident, but you can get the confidence to actually do a bit more. And personal brand, people buy from people. So think about what you're all about. Use a piece of paper, put your name in the middle of it, write down every single last thing that relates to you, and then show up and talk about it. Find your niche, find the thing that you know more than other people about. Think about an average room. Think about like what things could you talk about in that room.
How do I connect with these people?
Yeah.
And people say this like LinkedIn. I do a lot of work on LinkedIn, and people go, "Oh, you're sharing stuff that's not professional." I was like, "No, I'm sharing stuff that allows people to." Well, if I meet them in a room, they'll go, "Oh, is that the band you went to go and see? Oh, you do this, don't you?" So actually allow them in, so you've got a window of opportunity and conversation to feel familiar.
I want to know what bands you go and see now, because I'm a very big music.
1975. The Lathams, the Twang, Cortinas. Who's the last one? The
kind of the indie stuff. Yeah. I've got a really eclectic music taste, and I think like because music is dopamine, right? So I'm a big like I went to see a band last night called the Showhawk Duo. Amazing. They do guitar covers of 90s dance tunes. Amazing stuff. I'm going to post some on my stories.
I love the Ibiza Orchestra, and actually, the top people I'd love to see before I died were actually George Michael, who's no longer unfortunately here, Annie Lennox, the Spice Girls were one that I'd seen, Robbie Williams that I'd seen.
I saw Robbie at Isle of Wight last year. Amazing.
And the other one, I'm having a blank. Is a lady called Bo Bruce, and she's really niche. She was on The Voice years ago. But she's an incredible musician. She released 2 albums and they were phenomenal. But I never saw her live.
Yeah, I do remember her. Yeah, interesting. Fantastic. I mean, I've worked in the music industry as well, so I actually used to be a radio presenter. So little fun fact for you, something that nobody knows. But yeah, I worked in radio for years, so I used to go and get backstage and interview all the bands and all of that kind of stuff. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's
right. So let's bring it to a close, because we can talk off the app, and actually people can contact you and get in touch. So one last time, Mad About Money Official on TikTok. A massive thank you for coming on, and I think when we spoke on the phone, you were such a multi-angle character, experience, person, job-wise, life, and I love that we've been able to try and bring that together to let people know, ultimately, like, if you are feeling any of the ways Maddy mentioned, you're not alone. It is a lot more frequent than you may have ever known, but actually talking about it isn't always the most comfortable thing for people to do.
Yeah. For me, it's just like it's second nature. I'm very much I'm an open book. What you see is what you get with me. There's no airs or graces. Like I just, I keep it real, and I think that's what people need. People don't need this bullshit business stuff, bullshit people stuff, influencer crap. Okay, yes, I guess I'm an influencer. I've got 60,000 followers on TikTok, but I don't use it for my own personal gain. I use it to help other people, and I think that's kind of the difference between people. Exactly, and that's how everybody should be, I think, anyway.
Fantastic. Right, thank you very much.
Actually doing my makeup while I'm doing a video, because I don't wear makeup.
Today's routine. That is a wrap. That is episode 2 of Behind the Mask, in conversation with Maddy. Thank you very, very much for joining us, and take care.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you. Take care.